Jason Jones. My company is Citizens Bank, and my title is Community Development Market Manager. Started off not even knowing what I wanted to do so far as banking at all. In high school, beyond algebra, math wasn't my thing. I actually wanted to go to school to be an English teacher. And through that, I went to Penn State, got a full scholarship, academic, which was awesome from the neighborhood that I came from. And so within that, had some issues that happened at home, and so had to kind of come home, get a job, help out with my brother and my mom as she was sick. And so through that, kind of really dropped out of school at that point, and started working at a gas station called the Buy and Fly that is right in front of the zoo. And so I worked there because I could go to Pitt part-time and still kind of work in the mornings, go to class, come back and work until the evening. So in that opportunity, I had a branch manager come into the store and basically asked me, "Hey, do you want to get into banking?" And I said no. And so the second time she came in, she said, "Hey, you do so great with coffee and customers and multitasking. I think you should really give banking a shot." And I was like, "Nah, no, it's not me. I don't really like math. That's not my thing." So with that, the third time she kind of came in and kind of gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. Basically said, "Hey, a banking job is way more prestigious. I can give you more money." And she's like, "Why don't you want to take this job?" And I said, "So again, math, numbers weren't my thing. I just didn't see a future in banking at all." She said, "Well," and I was going to school, so the Buy and Fly was kind of flexible. And so with that, basically she said, "Hey, I'll pay you to leave to go to school. Come back next semester. You'll have to take night classes, but kind of work through." And so in that, started off literally as a teller, and then worked my way up. A few months later, we had been bought out by a bank called First Commonwealth, and so I became a personal banker there. And then from there, had an opportunity. There was another bank that came in the market that opened up a new branch in the Hill District. It was the first time a branch had been opened up in the Hill District for probably 30 or 35 years. So that was an exciting time, and so I got a chance to go there and kind of be an assistant manager. So I worked my way up there, and then went to Bloomfield and kind of continued on that path, but got really burned out. And so in that, I did a lot of financial literacy, where I went to, and I just kind of did it on my own. Good thing I had great support and management to support me, but I went back to Peabody and Westinghouse and Career Connections to kind of do financial literacy, because all of the things that I hadn't learned, I had realized at that point in time, my school had failed me. And what I mean by that is I knew canonized work, I knew Chaucer, but I didn't know how to balance a checkbook. And so that was imperative in to success. So they were like, "Hey, go to college, you're going to make a ton of money," but I didn't know how to manage that money. And so my freshman year, I had a roommate who blew $5,000 on a credit card, which $5,000 was a ton of money to me at that point. And so he was like, "It's no big deal. My parents will cash in a CD." And I'm thinking compact disc, and he's talking certificate of deposit, right? And so that's when I kind of realized school may have failed me in some ways. So through that, got burnt out because, in that role, I was really looking to help folks, and unfortunately, the retail side hit me putting food on my family's table, and me helping where my passion lied, helping the community, because I had friends who would come in and pull me to the side and say, "Hey, Jason, I don't know where I write my name on this check," right? And so the way that I think is that if you don't know the rules to the game, there's no way you can win it, right? So if you don't know where to write your name on a check, more than likely you're not getting paid what you're worth. And so through that, had the opportunity to go to Bank of America because I had all this experience, and by this point in time, I had graduated with my Bachelor in Science of Organizational Leadership, and then got a Master in Strategic Leadership. And so had the opportunity to go to Bank of America and do mortgage loss mitigation, which what that means, it's a fancy word for we help people stay in their homes during the housing crisis. And through that, taking a little bit of a step back as a branch manager, I would send off my applications to underwriters, to some black hole over there. They would come back a couple of days later and say yes or yay or nay, yes or no. And then without much reasoning, right? And so what going to Bank of America did was allow me to understand the underwriting process and helping restructure loans and strengthening that. We did such a great job that we worked ourselves out of a job. So 9 months later, actually out here in Canonsburg, on Boyce Road, we worked ourselves out of a job. And so they closed down our site, and at the same time, which I was lucky, I had a friend who I worked at Fifth Third with, and he was like, hey, remember all those nights that we complained about not being able to help customers? Well, I have this organization that I work for called Bridgeway Capital, which is a CDFI, or Community Development Financial Institution. And so I had never heard of it, and so I did some research. He was like, I think you would be a great fit. I think this is something great for you to do. So filled out an application, and I got hired to work there. And at the very same time, I also opened up a hair salon. No, I do not know how to do hair, but I had partners that knew how, and so I invested and did some of the background, and I understood business. So did those two simultaneously, and again had an opportunity to move on to community development, which was a hybrid of both all the experiences I had had from the beginning. So understanding banking, understanding business, understanding finances. And through that became a divisional over Pennsylvania, New York, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, and Illinois. And I had folk that reported to me, and that was very, very rewarding work. I put together several programs that are still a staple here in Pittsburgh, in the Hill District. Worked with prominent organizations like the URA to kind of help them get small businesses access to capital, and low to moderate income folks access to capital as well. And so through that, had the experience, but had been traveling to Houston once a month and traveling through all those states monthly, so wasn't home much. And I had some personal things happen at home, so I took a job at Idea Foundry, which is a boutique firm that helped startup firms out of CMU, University of Pittsburgh, and Duquesne, Robert Morris kind of spin out their businesses. So, for instance, there may be a doctor that could cure cancer but doesn't understand how business operates, so we helped them structure their business, and that gave me a really great foundation there. And then in the nonprofit world, which you may find out later, sometimes money dries up, and so I was asked, hey, well, you could fundraise for your position, so it made more sense for me to just kind of fundraise for myself. So I got into consulting, and really kind of helping businesses kind of spur out of that. And out of that, someone that I really respected, Scott Brown, who spent 30 years in CRA for Citizens, had recommended me for the position, thought I would be a good fit. And so it was more localized. So I oversee Western Pennsylvania over to State College, up to Erie, down to Greene County, and then Eastern Ohio, which is really just Youngstown, Ohio. And so I'm able to do that. I also have that passion, as I told you, as a freshman going into Penn State to be a teacher. So I actually teach at Community College of Allegheny County I teach Business 101, marketing, and entrepreneurship. And so currently those are all the things that I'm doing. But again, understanding that along the way there were pivotal points where people mentored and kind of stepped in and saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, right? Like I had no clue I wanted to go into banking. I wasn't, that wasn't my I didn't project myself even going in that realm. And if it wasn't for Mikey Boyer and Kathy Nash and other CEOs that I worked with and kind of saw me through that. So what motivates me, what gets me up in the morning is, what puts the fire in my belly is really the passion behind really helping the communities that I grew up in. I remember sitting in East Liberty, and what it is now and what it was then wasn't the same. And so I remember thinking, what if we had a movie theater here? Or so many people pass through here, it'd be great. Unfortunately, I had a sibling that passed, and if he had more opportunity, I don't think that he would have chose the path that he chose. So in that, I think that I am very passionate about really kind of creating opportunities for communities. So I know that there's going to be a ton of blockchain jobs happening and coming to Pittsburgh. So that really kind of just motivates me, connecting folks to the know. So in community development, in my position and role, one of the things that I was based, and this was also long ago, 20 years ago, I made this decision to really kind of stay Pittsburgh based when a lot of my friends moved to different areas, Atlanta, Charlotte, Houston, and they're doing well. But I knew that connections were the key here, and so mentorship. One of the things that was very vital to my development was having a mentor, not having a male figure in my house and not knowing necessarily how to deal with things in an adult way once I got into the workplace, right? And so having that figure to say, hey, did you think about it this way, or challenge me in certain ways, I think that was very important. But again, I just had a lot of people championing me here in Pittsburgh, and so I decided to stay here because I knew my relationships were strong. And so fortunately or unfortunately, it's who you know, not necessarily what you know. And for me, I had to know things and know folks. And so that's paid off very well for me and helped with some of the Black leadership, young Black leadership in Pittsburgh, and really kind of shaping what that looks like. So creating and helping with third spaces like the Lincoln Lemington area, helping them legitimize their 501c3, which is becoming a nonprofit. Also, just kind of being a part of working with at Gainey, Dom Costa, which are state representatives, and helping them with drives and making sure that we connect people to resources and education. And so understanding that Pittsburgh is thriving, on contrary to what you may have heard or your friends may be saying, Pittsburgh's it. So what does an average day look like? One of the beauties in my role and what I love about it is no 2 days look alike. It's like a snowflake. So in that, depending on the population, the need of the community, so I do a lot of what's called needs assessments, and it's really kind of understanding and helping the community tell me what they need instead of dictating to them what they need. And so in that, there are days that I have to suit up, and I might, again, be at a press conference with the mayor or the URA, or there may be days that I have a t-shirt on and I'm helping pack, lunches, or I may be at a church really kind of doing a financial literacy class. So there's a lot of different components to my job. There's conversations and things that I'm brokering on behalf of communities to ensure that they have access to capital, to understanding of how to start a business, how to get over a certain threshold in their business. So there's just different components all the time. With that, affordable housing, I have to kind of look at, ensuring that, again, although East Liberty is a great neighborhood, that if they're gonna utilize some of our capital, that they have to have at least 70% is marketed, and at least 30% is affordable to the community that has been indigenously there. So fighting for those types of pockets and things kind of create a space where when I look at my calendar, again, Monday morning looks completely different than Friday.